Welcome back, everybody, to College Hockey Mouth, episode 15, and the first time we're returning after a weekend off. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, wherever you celebrated. Devin Serra, rejoined by Danny Bohm and our producer, Gavin Coker, the original trio. Fellas, how was your Thanksgiving weekend? Did you guys have fun with family, or did you guys travel around? What you had going on?
Pretty low key Thanksgiving. My family is a little bit like a non-traditional type. Um, like half the table are vegetarians, and then the other half realized like 3, 4 years ago, like no one eats the turkey. We just end up throwing out a bunch of turkey. So why not just like what we want? So I had a bunch of steaks, and I made the steaks. They were fantastic. Not a big deal. And made some crab cakes, not Maryland style, but definitely better than anything you'll get down here in the Southeast. If anyone from the Mid-Atlantic knows, if you're going to get seafood down here in the Southeast, or if it says like Maryland crab cakes on a menu down here, run for Z Hills, all right? 2 words, food poisoning. Do not eat those. Do not order those. Yeah, so it was pretty good. But then next day saw Texas take down the old sad University from College Station. That was yummy. And then, I've got to end the charade here. Um, I've gone this entire time asking our guest, who's currently in the studio, to come on the podcast without telling her that I'm a proud South Carolina Gamecock. I saw the face she just made. And after the ongoings of what happened over the weekend, I wanted to cancel this episode because like a few weeks out, I saw how it was lining up, and I was like, this could be good. This could be really good. And then yeah, that happened, and yeah, definitely wasn't looking forward to having a Clemson person on. But as a true Gamecock, I have integrity, and I will, I'll eat my crow here, and and speaking of integrity, we didn't have like much of any content come out last week. So the only interaction I had with our head of social media, Kelly Kilbart, was I was basically just sending her incendiary about the game. See, we're already letting it rip. About Clemson, just like the most vile stuff about Clemson. And kids, she did something that you should probably learn how to, and that's just turn the other cheek. She didn't send anything back, which definitely took a lot of steam out of me. So, but yeah, that sucked, man. 4-8, 4-8. We were ranked 12th at the start of the year. That's embarrassing. Go ahead, Gavin.
Yeah, my Thanksgiving was good. Sister came home from USF, which isn't too far from Lakeland. So just had a good time with family, my fiance. I missed hockey. They have NFL football, but ever since I started watching hockey, it just doesn't feel the same. I don't care about Green Bay and the Lions. That game's whatever. But we're not going to talk about it, Devin. I'll let you talk about it because Jordan Love is the next coming. But anyways, that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, I just missed hockey, and then just a good weekend. Got the Christmas tree. I have one back here. This is a fake one, but we have a real one out in the living room. So I'm ready for Christmas. It's in full swing once you eat turkey.
So not only did the Lions lose, but all of Detroit sports across the board ate a pancake because the Pistons, who were on like a 13-game win streak, I think they tied a franchise record, lost to the Magic. The Wings lose back-to-backs to Nashville and then Boston. And then the Lions game, I thought they were going to find a way to overcome the refs and the Packers. But, the saying, Detroit versus everybody, it is what it is. We kind of like being the underdog, so I'm not too upset. If anything, I feel right at home. All is right in the world. The Lions losing on Thanksgiving, I've seen it my whole life, so not the
Exactly.
worst. Right. Other than that, it was an awesome weekend. Went out to my friend's cabin in northern Michigan, got to see family throughout the week, and was feeling under the weather on my flight back. Guys, I had a 2-hour delay getting off my flight as another plane was stuck at the gate I was supposed to land at. And then Fort Lauderdale, they don't have the best deplaning situation because it took them an hour to get me my luggage. That was a checked bag, one suitcase, by the way. So not a great travel week of sickness that I'm now overcoming. I don't even know if you can tell in my voice, but hopefully not too much.
We can.
Great. All right. Well, I hope people enjoy that. I'll make sure I keep this short. Fun weekend, much needed to get back home and see people. But enough about us. We have another special guest in our return. She is a member of the Clemson's women team, and right now one of the hottest players around the conference, tied for first with goals, assists, and holds the sole spot with points 37. Please welcome senior forward Nina Molina. Welcome to the pod,
Thank
Nina.
you guys for having me on.
Yeah, so glad to have you. This took us a little bit of time. We had some rescheduling going on, and we're so glad to have you here. And of course, to Danny's chagrin, a Clemson Tiger, proud and true. A fun place to be, a fun school, fun environment, and you guys have a fun team. We'll get to you guys and your squad a little later, but just about you. Tell us a little bit about your journey. Spent time in Michigan, moved to New Jersey. We're telling us off air, so just tell us about your journey growing up and playing hockey.
So I started when I was 5. Grew up in Michigan, played boys till I was 12, played 1 year of girls there. Then moved to New Jersey and I played for the Colonials. And then my sophomore year of high school, I decided to go to boarding school. So I reclassed and went to Lawrenceville. Probably don't know what that is, but went there. I was going to play at Trinity and then I got injured. So things kind of just didn't work out. Technically, I still need another surgery. So I decided I could play club though. So went south, changed the environment, and that's where I am today.
Tell us about that. Like, you don't always see that. I don't know if people are familiar, the younger ranks, kind of that co-ed style of play. What did you learn at that level that attributes now, like, you are a dynamite forward for that Clemson squad? So, was it tougher playing against the boys than the girls, and what was that like?
I think at that age, I kind of didn't recognize the difference, but it definitely taught me hockey IQ because I was a lot smaller than everyone else. I mean, I'm still small. So I think it definitely made me develop a strong hockey IQ and know how to move around the ice quickly without getting hit.
Yeah, that's a different style of game, transitioning from playing men's where checking is allowed to women's where you kind of have to learn how to angle your opponent off, can't really throw a check per se. How has that affected you, or is that so long ago that you don't really,
I
or
don't
you're not
think it
necessarily
has. Yeah, I
okay?
never was a super, I'll say I'm aggressive, but not in the sense of like hitting people. That was never my style of play. It's more smart.
I got you.
So your eventual move to New Jersey, I'm sure that was a lot to take in. Just preteen days. Like, what was
Yeah.
it going from Michigan to New Jersey, and eventually finding yourself playing at Lawrenceville?
I think it was a smooth transition. I was definitely nervous at first because I didn't know how hockey was in New Jersey, but it was pretty equal in the level of play. So it wasn't too tough for me to transition. And then it was nice because my first year at the Colonials, we still played boys teams. We played boys and girls. So I kind of got familiar with just like what I already knew. And then going to boarding school, that's a whole different lifestyle, obviously. But I got recruited to go there. So I was like, I might as well give it a chance.
One thing you mentioned, I asked you before the podcast, some of your favorite hockey memories. One thing you mentioned is getting an invite to national camp. You
Yes.
want to tell that story a little bit and why it still sticks with you?
Yeah. So we have tryouts for our district, and then you make it to district camp. And from district camp, I think so long ago, I think there was maybe 2 or 3 girls from our district that made it to national camp. And then obviously at national camp, that was awesome to experience. It's like the best girls in the country
Hmm.
all playing together. And from there, you could get chosen to go to the 18U camp. I didn't make it that far, but no one in our district did.
No, I mean that's a super cool, notch to
Yeah,
have
it
in your
was
belt for sure.
cool. You fly to Minnesota and you play there for a
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
It was awesome.
So when you're going through this movement, Lawrenceville, the national camps, like, are there any players that you got linked with and eventually found yourself playing against, or do you know anybody that went on to play, let's say, some of those national teams and maybe even like the P Dub?
There's one girl that I grew up kind of playing against, Haley Wynn. If you ever heard of her, she was awesome. I mean, played on the national team, went to Clarkston. So good. She was awesome. But I think just her, and then I obviously have friends that went deep.
And you talked about getting recruited by Lawrenceville, but what made you decide to go there?
I think that it was the academics of it too. My parents really pushed me for it. They're like top 10 in the country for academics. So they kind of knew that if I went there, even if hockey didn't work out, like I would be in a good place for college.
So you eventually think about college, right? Why Clemson? You know, why do you have to go to Danny's rival school? What's the appeal there? And
Come on.
we have got to acknowledge it. We have got to acknowledge it. It's awesome.
It's a crazy story. So I was getting recruited to go D1 when the portal opened. And then I found out I tore my labrum in my hip, got the surgery. I was out for 7 months. It didn't feel better after the surgery. So I kind of just thought, okay, I'll go. I think D3 is more attainable. I was committed to Trinity. It was during COVID, all of that stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being honest, schools in the North were a little bit more strict, obviously. So I just randomly applied to Clemson and I was like, all right, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, as someone that was at South Carolina during the pandemic, I know that schools
Yeah.
in the North were more
Yeah.
strict.
So that's really what made me decide to go to Clemson. I applied to Clemson on a whim. I mean, I applied when I was already committed to go somewhere else. I just applied for fun.
So did you like go on a visit or anything like that, or no? You just did. You just spontaneously chose
My
Clemson.
academic advisor was like, you should just apply to a few fun schools, like apply to one in the South, apply to Michigan.
So this is like Claire Carson-esque, you know, mentality here. You don't know next to nothing, right? And you just take it on a whim. Like it had to have been like an instinct, right?
Yeah. It was in August. Like I was
Oh my God.
I mean, basically, all I'm hearing is that Clemson is a better school than South Carolina. She said it was a
right.
fun school, and
Okay.
so
Okay.
I think so.
Well, here we
listen,
go. I mean, what are the best parts? Like let's compare apples to oranges here. Like, what's really the appeal here?
Okay. The bars. It's safer. Football, clearly.
No. We're not doing this.
I don't like Columbia as a whole. So maybe I'm biased. I've been there a few times. I just don't like it. It feels
Columbia
so
is not a few times experience. You gotta dig your heels in and really just like I think you need a few weeks. You might need a few weeks, but no. So I've been to Clemson a couple of times, and it's definitely got like the classic college town
yes.
vibe. Like if you're going to Clemson, South Carolina, not talking about the university, you're going there for the university, right? Like you could go to Columbia because it is the state capital. You could go to Columbia just to do whatever. You don't have to necessarily be visiting someone at South Carolina or just going to a football game. So I can see how some people might prefer Clemson.
Yeah, I like that it's a college town. If I wanted to have something that was in a city, I could do that in the North.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only one that in the North that's a college town is Penn State.
Yeah, definitely. You probably get a better city atmosphere in the
Yeah.
North, but so you end up at Clemson, and they don't have a hockey team the first 3 years you're there. So were you just on the shelf this whole time, or did you find ways to get that hockey fix? Were you playing in a league or anything like that?
No, I
You're straight off the
honestly,
shelf.
yep. I've skated probably like twice a year with my younger brother.
I mean, that's a pretty amazing footnote to this early start for you with all
Yeah.
the.
So you're telling us that you go from like being virtually done, like 3 years almost, and then you're just like, yeah, I'll play, and you immediately get like, what are you on now? 3 or 4 hat tricks? Holy cow!
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't kept track. But yeah, I played golf. Like I didn't continue playing hockey, just skating around once in a while. I feel like it's like riding a bike though. You skate once and you're kind of back. The endurance
But
is not back, but
yeah. But you mentioned you had the hip injury though. So like it's one thing to just like hop on the bike and start riding, but if there's an integral part of the bike riding that's injured, I feel like that can be a little bit of an issue, right?
yeah, I mean, okay, at first it definitely hurt during the games, but I skated with the injury my senior year as well at Lawrenceville. So kind of I'm used to it, I think.
So you mentioned the golf instructing too. It sounds like you're tough as nails here. Like, how good at golf are you? Like, give us like your comparison to hockey. Like, you a better golfer than a hockey player?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not. I shoot in like the low 80s.
Respect.
Yeah, I'm all right. I can't putt to save my life though.
Well,
That's where
that makes two of us.
Yeah, that's where it goes wrong for me. I
Actually,
think it's
I'll say
because I'm a lefty in hockey
me too.
and I'm a righty in
So
golf.
that's interesting now. Okay, so you're swinging top hand is left down, correct?
Mhm.
And you're shooting the puck opposite that way. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
I've heard that a few instances. Does that translate to your game at all? Like your hip movement or just the side? There's so many more details in golf, obviously, but what's the comparison?
Honestly, I don't think so. I've been playing golf for a while too, but it was always recreational, like for fun. I really picked it up once I quit hockey.
What was the last round you played?
I haven't played since the summer. I think I shot an
Go
83.
ahead. 80. I was gonna play over the weekend because the winter prices are much better.
Amazing.
Like a couple of days before, I tweaked something in my neck, and I was just like, so I didn't get to go out there and shoot a 110 and push back the pace of play for all the groups behind me.
Ugh.
I can see Danny calling the pro shop. He's like, "Hey, what's the course record?" Oh, okay. I
Exactly.
shot a 140.
And then I four putt on the first hole, and
I can't say anything. I don't golf, so
Danny's the type of guy that's got to use the sand wedge almost every single what do you call it mid drive set of irons. I'm really making fun of myself because that's how I play golf. I play with graphite clubs, but that's regardless. I feel like an old man when I golf. So getting back to the hockey scene, right? So you come in technically first year, but you're already part of that leadership crew with Clemson, vice president. So how involved were you in putting the team together, and what was that process like?
I was there. I was probably one of the first 5 players to say that we would do it, but I tried to attract a few girls. Other than that, honestly, it was all Jenna. She was great. She set up the whole thing because
yeah, go ahead.
I'm a senior. I was like, I'm not gonna start a hockey team and like not really get off the ground if that's what I'm gonna do. I really didn't think we had that many girls that played hockey here.
I I'll just add something. It was towards the end of last season that it wasn't really like you guys weren't getting the kind of traction you wanted to get the amount of players for the beginning of next season.
Yeah,
So there were definitely some question marks for, if you guys would have enough players to field a team. And our very first episode of this podcast, we were previewing your series against Tennessee. And I remember us like the way we were talking about your team, we were like, hey, it's their first series, don't worry about the result necessarily. And then we see the first score posted. We were like, what is going on? What, who do they have on this team?
yeah, we have some really good players, honestly.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, one of a girl I played with growing up. She's on the team. She played for Colonials as well, so I've known her. We have a few other good players too.
yeah. And obviously that led to a 6-0 record, and you guys outscoring teams 71-5. Danny just mentioned that first score. But do you guys feel like winning that much, or do you guys like winning by that much, or are you looking for some more stiff competition maybe in the second semester as a team?
I think I'm excited to play some teams that are better for sure, like a Tampa or USF. That will bring out the competitive drive in me. I haven't really reached that point yet. It's been more for fun. Like, oh, we go out there and we win by X amount. It's just been skating around having fun. When we play someone with more competition, I think it'll be.
Well, if this hasn't brought out the competitive drive in you and you're putting up hat tricks, I'm scared to see what happens when you do play Tampa or we do see Bama USF.
Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna read off your rap sheet a little bit, if you want to call it a rap sheet, through the first semester here. First star of the week in week 1 and 8, second star of September, and first star of October. I guess you had a bad November. I actually don't think they played any games, but it's the only reason why she wasn't one of the stars. Did you expect to have this kind of success the first semester? And you mentioned that it's been a few years since you played and organized team hockey. So do you expect to kind of pop off this way?
I want to say no, but also I wanted to push myself to like get there to back to how used to skate and back to how I used to play. So I guess kind of. I expect a lot out of myself, even if it is we're just playing club. I still am going to try to put my best foot forward always.
Well, I definitely think that that's been the case. One thing I have to say, and I mentioned this, another thing I mentioned on our very first episode, something that's coming up in the first few weeks of next semester. Very first time ever, South Carolina versus Clemson women's hockey. Has that been marked on your calendar?
It has. We've talked about it a bit.
Yeah, that I've been excited for it. I'm excited
I'm
to see what
looking
that looks
forward to
like.
it. Yeah, they're a good team too, right?
But yeah, definitely. They've got I think they've lost a couple of players, but they've got a pretty full roster now. They've had for whatever circumstances, players miss weekends against better teams and they don't get the results they want. But yeah, they're pretty solid for sure.
Yeah, I think that's our
Nina's
issue. We're a little short on the bench.
Nina, I don't know if it's just me, but I could feel you like scheming, like, okay, I'm trying to get a feel for who this team is so that you're battle ready and you're gonna
A
I'm
little
take
not
it
going to
to
bit.
the
give you a scouting
Gamecocks.
report. I am a gamecock, all right?
I've already looked them up. Don't worry. I was
Every
just
single
seeing if you were
player,
going to be honest.
every player's past week, past players month, year, you name it. Oh man. Honestly, like, can you tell us any like good road stories you've had where like you've been on the trip with this Clemson team or elsewhere?
I don't have any good stories. Not that I can remember off the top of my head. I haven't played in like 6 years, so
6 years? Is that an exaggeration? An
no,
actual 6 years?
maybe like 5. Because my
Devin,
senior season, I was kind of out, and we didn't play that often because of COVID.
we're dealing with Clemson math here, so you got to bear with her a little bit. Ah, like I said, I'm an asshole, so I like to do these things.
No, you're good. I do have a good story actually. Just came back to me. So at Lawrenceville on the road, we would make each player do a dance that was new before the game in front of everyone. And my first game at Lawrenceville, I'm pretty sure that's when I tore my labrum was during my dance.
Oh my God, what was it? What'd you do?
I did the splits.
So probably not the smartest idea.
Not the smartest idea, but I thought I had to go all out. I didn't want to embarrass myself. I wanted it to be a good dance. So I did the split cartwheel into the splits. And that was when my hips started acting up. So I did it to myself.
Okay, Devin, Gavin, prepare your answers. If we start to implement this new ritual before the next podcast, you have to do a dance. What would it be?
That's a tough one. I don't know. I can't dance and I have no rhythm, so it
That
would.
wasn't the question.
Well, that's the answer. I know that wasn't the question, but that's the answer right there. I have no rhythm, so you're not seeing me dance. I'll produce every episode and never talk again on the podcast if I can get
You
out of
can't
the
do a
movie.
cartwheel. You can't do a cartwheel into
I
the
can
splits.
do a cartwheel, but I can't do the splits. I can do a cartwheel
Okay.
though. Devin's deep
All
pondering
right,
over there.
so look, I may or may not have a double life where I've been asked to perform on stage in front of an entire, well, I guess you can call it class, high school class. And I've also been in a lot of circles on stages, or not stages, on the dance floor. So if I had to pick one to do for the pod that's semi good, I mean, the Macarena.
See, you could have said something like that, Gavin. You could have said the YMCA. That's
Okay.
easy.
Then I'll
Well,
just do
yeah,
the
like that's
cha-cha
the easy
slide.
one.
If we're talking like that, I'm pulling out the cha-cha slide. That's what I'm doing.
Cupid
I
shuffle,
don't know
maybe?
how to moonwalk,
Cupid.
but I
Oh, the
want to.
Cupid shuffle. I could pull the Cupid shuffle out.
Absolutely.
I didn't know we were talking that easy.
Nina went to difficult level 10 for hers, and it cost her dearly.
Yeah. We had to choreograph the dance. You couldn't just do a dance that was already made.
Maybe
Okay.
we have to switch the fantasy punishment. Choreograph dance on the ice at CHS playoffs.
No, I don't think so. So Nina, this might actually happen before one of your games, but we have a CHS fantasy league with some of our interns, and the punishment for whoever comes in last is they have to sing the national anthem before one of the playoff games in February, and the two girls that are duking it out for last are on the South Carolina women's team and the Tampa women's team.
No.
So they might be in uniform singing the national anthem.
That would be great.
I know, right?
Interesting. Wow. We took a spin in this. We've been everywhere. Golf, New Jersey. We've been to dance battles. You got some ideas for us, but we want to ask you this. Do you have any players, current or former, that are your favorites nationally, or ones you played with?
My favorite player of all time is Pavel Datsuk.
That's a great answer.
I knew you would like that. Yeah, I met him when I was younger. I just love him. Love the way he plays the game.
Did he like speak like fluent English and everything?
He didn't say a word when I met him.
That's
Did
Pavel.
not say a word.
His
Oh,
secrets are kept.
is that why
Go ahead.
you were 13?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
I
Connect the
was wondering
dots,
the same
Devin.
thing. Right, right. What's your favorite Datsu goal or moment?
That's tough. Definitely one of his shootout goals.
The
Yeah.
Datsuki and Deke.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one he's done it a couple of times. He did it once in a game. I think it was the first time he did it in a game where he does that pullback forehand move. But that's like you have to like the amount of work you have to do with your edges on that, insane. But
Insane.
my you didn't ask me, Devin, but you watch like the Datsuk highlight videos that can be like 45 minutes long, whatever. But I just go back and watch old highlights because I'm a hockey nerd, and you'll pick a random Red Wings game and find the high or like find a just like a run of the mill play that's just like in the middle of the game, and it's just like, how did he just do that? Like, what? That guy's not human. Like, he's an alien. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd say like I'm with you. It's hard to pick one moment, but I think the one where he dances around the San Jose defenders is my favorite because I think it's like the first clip I'll show anybody of like what was Pavel Datsuk like, and I just am like that was on a nightly basis, you know, like you pull on a Red Wings game and like even the Wings would be losing bad, like he's still just yeah hands of God. So that's
He's
awesome,
amazing.
Pavel Datsuk. I love that. Final thing I think we want to ask you with what you know with this being kind of a long break for you guys, your program is still developing. What do you think is the goal for you as a player and your team as a program, and where do you want to see Clemson at the end of the year and in the future?
For me personally, I think just scoring as many goals as I can, playing the best that I can. I don't know if you guys do like an MVP for the end of the year
Oh,
or
we
whatever.
sure do.
Maybe that then. For Clemson, winning all of our games, so possibly we can get more funding from the school because that's an issue for us. Just with us being in the South, it's not a big thing here. Starting, we didn't get a lot of funding, so we weren't able to play a lot of games. So hopefully, just winning every game, so we can show the school that this is a good program. Be able to play more games next year, travel more places, maybe establish ourselves so some girls get interested in playing, even if they're just coming here for fun.
Yeah, love that.
Yep, I think just bringing awareness. 'Cause, I mean, I had no idea that we were starting it. My friend is the one who told me about it. So, like, I wouldn't even have known if she wasn't on the team.
Shout out to your friend.
Yeah,
Seriously.
she's great too.
Well, Nina, keep yourself healthy with the dance battles. Good luck in the golf scene, but especially good luck with your chase for College Hockey South Women's MVP this year. And we greatly look forward to seeing you in Clemson and all your success the rest of the year.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much again to standout talent Nina Molina for coming on the pod, and a great addition to that Clemson team that is rolling undefeated right now, 6-0 to start their campaign in the first semester. We got some stuff to get to. A very light last 2 weeks, considering everybody's starting sort of their break periods here in December. But the M2 rankings came out, and we got some movement among the three teams, two of them at least. Tampa stays at the number 2 spot where they have been all year so far after splitting a series, sort of a shootout win, and then a loss to Farmingdale State, which we'll get to in the recap. But reasonable to see them stay here. The TSCHL, some of the teams in the Midwest, like Ohio State, Indiana, Ohio with some movement, so they go up and down and make up the bulk of the top 10. And considering that Tampa did pretty well against the Northeast number 2 team in Farmingdale State, I think they deserve to be where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little concerned about how our two other teams got shuffled down, considering how they've done against the teams above them in the rankings. But I'm sure there are other things to factor in the way the computer calculates these things. I don't know. I'm a simpleton. When I see a 1-1 record against an opponent, I consider them pretty even. So when I see Florida how many spots behind Tennessee and South Carolina, I don't know. That's confusing me. Nevertheless, yeah, Tampa seems like they just have they've cornered the market on that 2 spot behind Florida Gulf Coast, and yeah, well, that'll likely hold for a while now.
Yeah, and we talked about Tampa having a little bit of a rocky start coming into the season. They go win a national championship. You kind of expected them to keep that pace going, but at the same time, there was a little bit of fall off. But It doesn't show in the standings currently. They got back on track. They got some big wins. And we mentioned the Farmingdale series, they get a win kind of over that team they played in nationals against. So that kind of resubmitted them when we look at it in the Northeast. Farmingdale's number 2 there. So good wins for Tampa that allow them to stay right behind FGCU.
In simple terms, my take on Florida Atlantic and Florida dropping spots is that you're seeing that strength of schedule start to take folds in the Southeast. You're starting to see some of the teams that are playing top ranked teams among themselves start to make noise. Ohio State just won the Chicago Classic out in a tournament among a couple of teams there and the likes of Indiana, Ohio, a few others I'm forgetting, but them going undefeated and winning those games by large margins is helping their game performance score. That's why you see Ohio State all of a sudden jump to number 6. And naturally with, them moving up along with some other guys like Georgia and Tennessee, that causes those other teams to drop. Now, Florida is a weird one because they have a different record than their overall. They're 6-7 in the standings, and then they're 8-6-0-1 overall. And of course, they are right now 3rd in the division. So what this all boils down to is that they don't have really games going for them, not at least greatly strength of schedule, but a matchup that we'll get to has a lot to do with where they placed. So that is your M2 rankings.
So, and what this sounds like? We're recording on Wednesday. It sounds like the college football playoff discussion from Tuesday night. So you can talk about strength of schedule for the Ohio States and the Indianas. That's all fine and well. That's not necessarily what I'm questioning. Florida has played both Tennessee and South Carolina. FAU has played Florida. FAU won all 3 games against Florida, and Florida split their games with South Carolina and Tennessee. I just don't understand. Like, strength of schedule is one thing, but when you've played the teams and you have the head-to-head matchups, that's where you start to lose me a little bit, right? Because the game isn't played on paper, it's played on ice. And we saw what happened on the ice. So, look, my opinion doesn't matter in these things, but I just have to, this is our forum to talk about things, and got to stick up for our teams, right?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And, Florida, I guess we'll get to it now, why they are where they are. I mean, they split with Tennessee 6-4 win, which was awesome for them. But then they have an 11-2 final, and that goal differential really hurts them, considering that Tennessee right now is a top 10 team with them. So I think that's going to play some factor in that. There's still a lot of games to go. They still have to play Tampa again. They still have to play Florida Atlantic one more time. So they have the opportunity. And what really matters is they have to stay within that top 20 to make the regional tournaments. At the end of the day, hopefully they can hold their spots and make themselves known. And, as time goes on here, we're going to start to fade away a little bit from the M2 ranking talk just because we don't want to be redundant. But of course, we'll keep you updated if any changes do come about in the following episode. By the time you see this, you might see some new M2 rankings. Speaking of new rankings, M3 is set to release theirs. We haven't got a release from this recording on Wednesday night, so stay tuned to the ACHA website for what they do rank. The standings go through November 30th for the 3rd ranking period. So at some point, they're going to release those, and I have a feeling that one's going to have a lot more movement than we saw out of M2. Be sure to go to achahockey.org to find those standings and more. So, with all that being said, we did have some games go on the last 2 weeks, so this is a 2-parter. Starting with our previous game of the week, guys. The Northeast number 2 team, Farmingdale State, traveled down to Clearwater Ice Arena, took on Tampa for a set, and the Spartans in the rematch of the national championship game from AAU Division I got the overtime or shootout win rather against Farmingdale State. Now they controlled this game early on, but Farmingdale State, Danny, you and I were texting, we were helping Kelly with some of the social media. They just hung around in this game and found a groove late to eventually tie this in it, and it took some heroics from their leadership on the Tampa side to get over the hump.
Yeah. So you definitely have to tip the cap to the Farmingdale goalie. I don't remember the gentleman's name, unfortunately, but held him in early. It the first 5-6 minutes, it was like it was looking like it was going to be a skunking, one of those like 10-1 type scores. But still, Tampa controlled the pace of play and really controlled the play in my eyes. They just didn't help themselves with the penalties and just some sloppiness, some turnovers in their own end or neutral ice. And yeah, Farmingdale, hey, if you're going to take the bus ride or the plane ride, whichever it was, all the way down there, you're not going to give in on any of these games. So they hung in there. They were down 4-2 heading into the final period and ended up tying it.
Danny, you know what's the craziest stat that I found out of this game? So these teams were virtually identical in the shots at the end of this, 57 apiece. Both goaltenders stopped 53 of 57. Drew Barron for Farmingdale State, you mentioned, had some highlight reel saves, but Kyle Meyer had to play just as good because for some reason Tampa's defense had a lot of odd man rushes they allowed. They ended up getting some help with their split goal scoring. Holden Havlovic, Nathan Hargis, their alternate captain, and Robbie Seawagon was clutch with a goal and an assist. It was as good, in my mind, as a game of the week as we've had all year. And I think I tipped the cap to just both sides on what a competitive one they provided for us. The next night, though, did not go Tampa's way. A 6-2 win for Farmingdale State. And really, early on, you could tell that Farmingdale State had more of the jump. They got Tampa into some penalty trouble, 2 power play goals, and this one, they had a tough night, right? Kyle Meyer and Sebastian Fontana both were in net. Meyer picks up the L, but I think Tampa gets a good benchmark of where they're at the mid part of the season.
Play definitely has to clean up for them to reach the heights they did last year, certainly, or to even be successful at regionals or conference playoffs with their style of play. And what made them successful last year was really stellar team defense, and it was not that 2 weekends ago. 10 goals allowed in 2 games, and it wasn't just the fact that they gave up 10 goals. Like sometimes that happens. It was the turnovers and just like some of the head scratching plays and how does that guy get open, that type of stuff. So Nick Kuzlik and staff, as they've gotten the results more often than not in this fall semester, but definitely could see some improvement.
And another M2 team that saw action was the Florida Gators, number 13 in the Southeast, taking on Tennessee from Community First Igloo, a rare home series for Florida. They win game one 6-4 in a good way, but then an 11-2 trouncing in that second one. Simply put, I don't know. Tennessee's a wild team. Like they beat Tampa earlier this year and then had themselves an off night there. They seem to be a really up and down team, but I unfortunately don't have any footage on this game, but just looking at that box score, I mean, it stands out like a sore thumb. Like that's a crazy one to see.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the 11-2, but when you give up 5 power play goals, you're gonna see a score like that. And we talked about it in the Tampa series where penalties kill teams. And it's any given night in college hockey south and just the ACHA and club hockey in general. And that's why you see Florida 6-4 win, and then next night Tennessee turns it on and runs away with the game.
Yeah, and perhaps I offer a theory, gentlemen. 6-4 Florida win on Friday night. Saturday night, the Tennessee football Volunteers go into the swamp and win for the first time since like 2003, I think. They didn't just win. They they demolished that Florida team. You think the Ice Falls in Florida didn't take any motivation from that? Like, you know what? Let's leave with a win, us too. Come on now. It's hard to argue with the theory when it's 11-2 final.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Tennessee and Florida like historically, at least in football, top 3 rivalries in the SEC? Like some of the documentary I saw about, I think it was the Gator Kings, the documentary about Urban Meyer and all of the Florida players. Like that was pretty hated for a long time.
Top three is stretching it. As someone who's gone to a school in the SEC and has lived in SEC country for a while now, there's just way too many heated ones to put that one in the top three. But I mean, just about everyone hates each other. So it's like Florida and Tennessee, Tennessee, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Georgia, and the list goes on and on. It's definitely a really unique one, just because they're not like geographically, other than the fact they're both in the southeast, they're not like that close. But they battled, and there's a history here between these two teams for sure.
The headlines: Mike Calabrese with 3 assists in game number 1, and Gavin, you mentioned the 5 power play goals for Tennessee absolutely killed Florida. Kyle Stober gets a hat trick there, and the Vols make their case known within a very strong Southeast division, and was still within the top 10. And Florida still trying to stay within reach within all of those teams. Switching things to the M3 side and keeping it here in the state of Florida, Florida Southern took on number 24 UCF, and I know you're very proud of this one, Gavin. A 6-5 Florida Southern win in game number 1. UCF gets the split 9-4. Will Marshall doing Will Marshall things. This is the 4th or 5th time we've said a Will Marshall hat trick here. Game number 1, he's all over it. Give us your debrief on this series.
Yeah, I think game 1 was a lot of UCF not playing a full 60 minutes, which their coach even mentioned. I saw it in an article somewhere where he said they didn't play the complete game. They got into it in the second period, had a big second period. I mean, Mocs were up 4-0. Will scored, I think, 3 goals in 2.5 minutes of game time. So, he was really seeing the game really well. And then UCF got back into it late. That 5th goal, I think they scored it with under a minute left. So they tried to get back into it, didn't play a complete game, but they didn't let it stop them. Get back to home ice, Orlando iced in. They love to play there. And Solar gets back and puts a hattie of his own. So it was really the stars for both teams on both nights making big plays. And Florida Southern just got into penalty trouble on the road, and that's what kills them 90% of the time.
For Florida Southern to have any hope at making the playoffs, they're going to have to find some more results like this against teams that are, highly ranked, not just, nationally, where UCF was in the current rankings, number 24, but ahead of them in the CHS rankings. So that's a big one for Florida Southern. We'll see how much that moves them and see if that gets them into playoff position or at least knocking on the door of it. But this same weekend, a team on the brink, a bubble team, got a big win in the Sunshine State as well, Devin.
That they did, and that goes into our conversation about the conference standings. Here's Alabama, a team that was 1-8 to start the year. They were getting dominated left and right. They have some coaching changes, some internal roster switch ups, and they go into Florida Gulf Coast, and man, they take it to them. 7 third period goals. They end Florida Gulf Coast's 4-game win streak with a statement performance. FGCU had a goaltender change late in the second period. Jeff Wasco came in for BJ Riccardi, and Finn Forster picked up a hat trick. And, when you talk about two teams that are fighting for that same real estate, Alabama holds that final spot right now in the top 12 that go to the College Hockey South playoffs, which is based on national rank. Alabama was at number 47 and at 78. So, Gavin, they needed a win against the top 25 team like UCF, but FGCU, one higher, a couple higher, 21 in the nation. So, Alabama gets themselves in good position, I think, to make the playoff just with this series alone. They end up getting the split as Florida Gulf Coast wins game 2. But just what a turnaround for them. I'm so happy for that Alabama team because it's been nothing but rough waters for them to this first semester.
Definitely. And what a letdown that has to be for Florida Southern. I mean, all you can do is play the team in front of you, but you finally gain some ground, or so you think, and then the team you're chasing gets a big win like that. And Florida Gulf Coast, what their bread and butter is playing 3-2, sometimes 4-3, but keeping it relatively low scoring. So to get 7 third period, I mean, you harken back to one of our games of the week earlier this year when South Florida went down there and they held South Florida to 4 goals and 3 goals, which is saying something considering the offensive firepower they have. So no small feat for Alabama, and maybe the Tide, they're starting to turn the tide. They're starting to play their best hockey of the year.
And Gav, I'm going to keep it straight with you here. Alabama is going to have a tough second semester. They're going to go play South Carolina and Clemson 4 games against the Gamecocks, while Florida Southern's going to have a series with USF. And I think Florida Southern has done everything they can to this point. They'll also play Embry-Riddle. So opportunities are there for both sides. And I think we're going to be talking about this bubble, obviously, later in the year. Well, I guess the start of the new year in January and then into February.
Yeah, and Florida Southern's made some moves. I mean, obviously, they had a series against Lynn 2 weeks prior to the UCF series, which they split. So that was a win that they needed to pick up. I mean, every series I feel like now for them is you need to win at least one of the games. I mean, I think the most exciting series in the next semester is going to be Miami. Those teams do not like each other. They played at Nationals for Division III 3 years ago. And so that's always one of those matchups where we mentioned it. Miami can turn it up and win both games, or they could not show up and get blown out. So every series you feel like for Florida Southern now is important moving forward.
And that is a number 20 Miami team. So both sides, Alabama, Florida Southern, will have some games coming up against ranked teams, and we'll be sure to follow it all for you. Let's turn the page to our previews. I believe this is week 13 for the conference. And starting things up, we've got an interesting game of the weekday. I don't think Danny was too happy with this being on Sunday at noon. It's December 7th. I know, Danny, we've had a lot of game of the weeks Friday nights, maybe Saturdays. I don't think we've had a Sunday yet. It's USF in Tampa, though, in the Battle for Tampa rematch. This is number 3 versus number 4.
Yes, arguably the most heated rivalry in all of CHS. Two teams that just go at each other. The linesmen, the referees, they'll be most likely busy. I don't want to forecast any type of stuff like that, but it's more than likely to happen. We have had one prior Sunday game of the week, and that's exactly why I wasn't looking forward to this one being on Sunday. Just I don't know. It's the end of the weekend. You know, you kind of just want everything to be wrapped up, and you're still. Yeah, I don't know. This will be an exciting matchup. Don't want to take any steam away from this game. Looking forward to this matchup. And Devin, as far as I know, you're going to be on commentary. Yes, no, maybe so.
For now, that is the plan. By the time you hear this, I will probably be on the road, headed from Fort Lauderdale towards Tampa. And, we had some schedule changes. Originally, this was going to be the Florida Jamboree. It was going to be teams like Niagara, UCF, still in the mix, but that could change. But what is going to happen that we know for sure is this USF and Tampa game. And what I think of here is you get a Tampa team that had their toughest tests, right? Their biggest pill to swallow. I mean, we were talking about another, I think, game of the week was, Tampa and Florida Atlantic a week later. But Tampa really struggled against the top talent of USF, the guys that we mentioned. We're going to say his name again. I'm sorry, people, but it's Grant Dietz. It's Maxwell Mudge. These are just Tampa guys that overwhelmed the Spartans. And since then, they've held their own ground. Ryan Koch has been really solid in net. I think Luke Inch has been as good for Tampa. And I think where these two teams are at right now sets up a better matchup than we've seen really in both games so far.
And I think one thing that's interesting is the first time these two teams played, Tampa was ranked higher than USF, and USF went and swept the series. So I'm interested to see if Tampa uses the rankings as motivation to turn it around and sweep USF.
It seems, Devin, that USF plays a much more complete style of game this year versus last. Last year was their first year with Grant Dietz, he who shall not be named. By the way, we were speaking to someone that is probably on Chunchakov Island. Nina probably is one of the cast-offs on Chunchakov Island, along with Grant Dietz and Chloe Valente and Braden Curry. Anyways, but yeah, USF playing a lot more of a mature game this year, a lot more lower scoring, at least for their opponents. They're not giving up as many goals. But this is a rivalry game. Crazy things can happen and likely will, and the hatred is there. It's definitely there.
No doubt. Just one thing I want people to take note of is Tampa, despite themselves losing 9-5, were perfect on their power play. 4 chances there, and they made the most of it. And I think Yanni Satsoulis, Trace Coward are guys to watch in there. Super excited. I know it's on a Sunday, but it's at noon Eastern time, so hopefully you can join us there on Black Dog Hockey with the rest of the crew. And ahead of time, thank you to the Tampa staff for allowing me the opportunity personally to travel over there and watch this one in person. Also going on will be Tampa versus UCF, but stick with us for some of the scheduling in that. Don't be upset at us at the time of this recording if things change. And moving along is Kennesaw State and Tennessee. So a Vets Cup matchup here, 2 teams that were there but didn't play each other. When you look at this, guys, Kennesaw State and Tennessee are neck and neck right there in the College Hockey South standings. I believe they're a 10 and 11. Kennesaw State is number 32 nationally. Tennessee 33 nationally. That can change, obviously. What are some things you look at with 2 rosters that have had some similar chemistry to start the year?
Well, I think about if you're going to lose the game, one of these two teams will lose this game, and they're on the bubble right there with the previous teams we mentioned. You just don't want to get blown out, right? You don't want the goal differential to end up, damning you in the end. Because a team like Florida Southern is looking at that and they're licking their chops. They're looking at this matchup like one of these two teams is going to lose. So Florida Southern and Gavin, I don't know if, he's a proud a moccasin. You can see it in his face. He's a proud moccasin, rooting for a blowout.
I think it's the type of game where you only get one this weekend. It's on a Saturday at Kennesaw State's place. Like, could swing your rank, could swing your things. I believe it's going to be pretty close considering Kennesaw State 4-8 in their conference play. Tennessee hasn't had as many games, but they've been competitive where we've seen them. I have a feeling that Tennessee will make importance of this and what's a rare, only their fifth M3 game of the year, guys, excuse me, their fifth or sixth rather. I'm all over the damn map, but the point stands. Like they're similar in that they give up a lot of goals, but they've been scoring a good amount. So a fun one's on tap there, and I think for being a lighter week, we've got some interesting games with Smoke here in M3 to watch, and that leads us into kind of our 3 stars of the month. And we'll go division by division here, starting with the women's. Marissa Bonilla for Florida had 12 goals, 4 assists. Always a crazy stat line with these women's players. 3 games for her. Second star went to Joey Burns for Tampa, 7 goals, 2 apples, and 9 points in 3. And Beth MacArthur for Florida for 5 goals and an assist. No Nina Molina on this list. What the heck, Danny? We're just pumping our tires about being on Chenchikov Island, but it's all Florida here.
Well, yeah, chomp chomp. They made their biggest impression in this month. I think it was definitely the win over South Florida when they didn't have Marissa Bonilla, who obviously her shooting percentage, my God, it's got to be more than 50%, right? If it's not more than 50%, she's shooting it from everywhere. Um, but yeah, that Florida definitely was the story of the month on the women's side.
Our men's division looked very similar in the stat lines, although not as many goals to their names. M2 starting with had Danny Griffin, the captain for the Spartans, 8 goals, 5 assists, 13 points in 7 games, where Tampa was all over. They played against, I believe, the Gators in this month. They had that series with Farmingdale State, and he was good enough there. Jackson Newendike for Florida Atlantic got second star here with the 6 goals and 1 assist, 7 points, a very stellar performance against the Florida Gators a couple of weeks ago now for him in that group as they went on and swept Florida. And Jack Fortescue for the Gators had 9 assists through 7 games over the course of November. A young forward, his brother plays for Tampa. So you like to see some of the youngster guys getting involved in this. Danny's obviously a veteran guy. Newendike, just a newcomer to the league, but Fortescue, a freshman, making their names known in them too.
Yeah, and so the thing about it is, and we'll get to these other divisions in a little bit, but the majority of these players are new players, whether they're seniors or not, or freshmen, new players to the conference. Marissa Bonilla, Joey Burns, Beth MacArthur, Jackson Newendike, Jack Fortescue, Nathan Walker of Florida Gulf Coast. These are all new players, which is super exciting, and it lets you know that hey, if you want to come and play hockey in College Hockey South, not only are you going to get a pretty decent platform, but you can come in and make a pretty instant impact and be recognized for it.
Amen to that. Danny, which I said they played Florida, but they were actually up in the Northeast playing up against some like Quinnipiacs and Fairfields. I think what Danny Griffin, we were talking about Tampa being a key is that even when that group's not 100%, they need someone to step up. And it's showing that their biggest players are contributing when they need it. And that goes for the other 2 teams as well. And every single team in M2 represented in this 3 stars of the month, which is even more exciting for everybody involved. On the M3 side, though, some familiar faces are here as we've gotten to know them this year. First star of the month goes to Grant Dietz, 9 goals, 11 assists in 6 games. Kieran Ogle, Middle Tennessee State, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. And third star, Nathan Walker for Florida Gulf Coast, 8 goals and 7 apples with 15 points in 6 games. So, I don't know, rock chalk here. It's always USF and Middle Tennessee, it seems.
We can't help it. Can't help it. Also, I forgot to shout out these guys from the ACDC list as new players into the conference this year. Sebastian Powers and Augie Pescatori. I love that. That's a great hockey name. I'm a big fan of Augie Pescatori. It's got to be fun to say on commentary. And Gavin, you'll get the chance to say that with St. Leo this weekend.
Yeah, you better be listening because I'll make sure I say it a bunch just for you, Danny.
Augie Pescatori. It's got a good rhythm.
It does. I was looking at it, and I think that was my favorite name on the sheet today.
You're going to see more of him. You're talking about our ACDC 3 stars with Powers at the first one. Andy Coleman for Embry-Riddle picked up second star with 3 goals and 4 assists over the weekend. And Augie Pescatori, yeah, it does roll off the tongue pretty well. 5 goals and an assist to his name. So great representation here in the 3 stars of the month. Congratulations to everybody involved. And the most active month we've had until we're going to see January. And then we're really talking about the crunch time. And as you guys know, it's late in the year when we really see the most impactful performances from leaders around the conference. That's your 3 stars of the month for College Hockey South. So as we wrap things up here, let's give some stick taps to a big time announcement. Danny, Gavin, everybody in the conference is so excited about this. It's the annual CHS European trip. College Hockey South All-Stars are going to travel to France January 1st through the 9th to play games against international competition. They'll engage in training sessions and participate in cultural excursions. Danny, we keep joking to Kelly we're going to get her on for an international episode. I don't know if we're going to get that far. We had a pretty heated conversation with her about it, but I mean, just give us your 2 cents about what it means to you to go travel with these guys overseas.
Yeah, it's definitely a really, once in a lifetime opportunity. To play some of the teams they'll be playing. Those are announcements that are set to come. So I pose a question to you both. So the 5 players we've announced already. So we have Rocco Bruno, Kyle Meyer, Will Marshall, Trace Cowart, and Cole Valise. Do you gentlemen I'll give you 3 guesses each. I know what the roster is, okay? And I'm not even going to let on whether you're correct or not. Do you have any guesses who might be the other players?
Well, I have a
I'm
feeling that they wear green and gold.
Gavin, go ahead.
I'm gonna spit out names. I feel like I think I'm gonna see Robert Renner from UCF.
Robert Renner from UCF. Okay.
Robert Renner from UCF. I think we'll see Solar as well. I think we'll get 2 nights, and then I get a third shot in the dark. I'm gonna go with Liam Lickeshaw. I feel like that's just a young stud in CHS who I could see going overseas.
And another fun name to say, by the way.
And another fun name to say.
Devin.
Okay, so you want me to pick names here because I don't know all of the schematics of who is going based on just pure selection or who is able to go.
Asking you who you think's going to be on the roster, sir. That's what I'm asking you right now.
Well, if I was picking, it's obviously got to be Grant Dietz.
Grant Dietz, okay.
Okay, that makes perfect sense in my mind. Jacob Duhaime, and I know I'm picking Bulls here. Those are pretty elite guys. Is Yanni Satsoulis in consideration?
Is he a member of a College Hockey South team?
He is.
He is. Then he's in consideration. He sure is. Okay. Well, we can check back in. The next episode, when that comes out, we'll have the full roster available. And it's going to be exciting. We're going to go numerically. We're not playing favorites. So we already know who 5 of them are. And I forget the total number, but it's going to be exciting. Really excited for the teams and the guys in particular.
I sincerely hope you've reached out to, and I hope he listens to this, I hope you've reached out to James Kravis. Or Christian Souza.
Kravy.
Wait.
Oh, Kravy and Christian Souza from KSU. They're
I'm
in
forgetting if one of
consideration.
those guys is dealing with an injury right now. I'll be honest.
I believe they're both healthy. They're both in consideration for sure. I can't confirm or deny if these guys are
great.
gone. We can revisit these. Perhaps I should be writing these down. So Gavin, you were Renner, Solar, and Lickeshaw, and Devin, you were Grant Dietz, Jacob Duhaime, and our friend with the Greek name. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it.
Yanni Satsoulis.
Yanni Satsoulis. And if that's not Greek, I do
and
apologize.
I only know that because I said it about 20 times before I got it right.
Oh, the kid's a stud?
Kid's a stud.
All right. Well, we will revisit these. One other topic I want to jump into, and we've been going for a bit. I apologize, Gavin. Producer Gavin, who does a great job. One thing I saw There was one team in particular, may have been the Blue Jackets. A bunch of the young players came out in warm-ups without their buckets on, and the team wound up paying a pretty hefty fine. Where do you guys stand? You guys are going to correct. It doesn't matter which. Does it look like I care if I get the team right? All right.
I have to say it was the Sharks.
It was the
I have to
Sharks.
say it was the
Okay.
Sharks.
It was the
It's the
Sharks.
young
All right.
guns on the Sharks.
Okay. What is your opinion on whether or not the players should be required to wear the buckets or not? And this could be a CHS question as well.
Do you know where that ruling originates from? Why players can't go into warms without buckets anymore?
I do, because Taylor Hall got his face stepped on.
Right. So Taylor Hall, a league MVP, a guy that has been on numerous playoff teams, got his face stepped on, proving the point that it can happen to anyone, right? But here's my point. How many other times has a player been injured in warmups and has it affected the lineup? Less than 1%. Okay. And now there's some nerd out there that's going to hear this and be like, well, actually, but look, I think freak accidents happen in hockey, and I think Taylor Hall wiping out and getting stepped on is not a thing that should dictate the NHL to go, everybody has to do it now, because we don't want to get, facing fines or a lawsuit saying we couldn't prevent this, because that's really what it's about. My opinion, and it's just my opinion, is that if you're in the show, you more than likely know how to skate better than 99% of the world. So you should be allowed to go out there without buckets at any point in any warm-up. Matter of fact, the NHL should allow the guys to wear whatever they want in warm-ups, aka heritage jerseys and breast cancer awareness jerseys. But the NHL doesn't want that either. So I'm anti-league on this one. I think it was a bold move, and I love the Sharks a little bit more for that, because it's showing that they are a fan favorite team, and the guys there are young, but they really don't care. And that's the ultimate way to say we're beauties. That's my 2 cents. Gavin, have the floor.
For me, I can see both sides of it. I mean, we've seen freak accidents happening off the ice that injure players. I mean, you've seen stories of guys getting pucks to the head in warm up. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been at a game, and you mentioned the guys knowing how to skate, and I see a player blow a tire or run into a teammate in warm-ups and just smack down on the ice. So I could see both sides of it. I don't necessarily think it's like, oh, find the team. I do think at some point there does need to be a line where it is about the player's safety. I mean, especially if you're Jack Hughes. Get that guy in bubble wrap. He should be out there in a Guardian helmet, Guardian cap out there. I mean, dude's getting hurt at team dinner. Guardian helmet.
Forget about his head. He needs to wear oven mitts to dinner. The guy sliced his finger off.
If this
So
guy's
I'll
breaking
say
his foot,
my opinion.
and okay, well, go ahead. Yeah.
My opinion. So these freak accidents, they do happen. And so you talk about, you know what, someone's back skating, and, guys are off in their own worlds during warm-up. Sometimes you run into each other. Say someone doesn't have their helmet on and they whack into somebody, they lose an edge. They could hit their head on the ice. Could really happen. All right. There's a greater than 1% chance that could happen. And you're mitigating that risk by just telling them, hey, you got to wear your helmet. However, the boys just look cooler with the helmets off. I'm sorry. You got to let the boys be boys. Jacqueline Celebrini, and I know uh, Connor Bedard did it for his very first NHL game. He was like, you know what? To hell with it. To hell with the fine. I'm going out there with no bucket, and I'm gonna let the hair go. By the way, I didn't ask Gavin for a hair check before this started, but I think it's holding up pretty well. My official opinion is let the boys be boys. If they want to do it, they want to do it. But that's not how the world works, I understand. And you got to be mindful of player safety. So it is what it is.
If you're getting hurt in warm-ups and team dinners and having your mental fortitude cracked open by talking to Tate McRae, then how do you expect somebody to win the Stanley Cup when they got to go round for round, pound for pound with the best in the league?
By the way, there's
That's
been
just
like
my 2
three
cents.
instances of injuries away from the rink this year. It's been an instant. There was a Florida guy, there was Jack
Been a
Hughes,
thing.
and then recently there was I think it was Toropchenko from the Blues. Like, what is going on, guys? These guys are participating in extreme sports away from the rink. Like, what are you doing?
Well, dude's barbecuing on a Friday and gets burned on his legs. Like, what are you barbecuing? Why
He had the
are
he
you
had the
burning
Foreman
your
grill on his
legs?
lap. He
Dude's
had the
cooking
Foreman grill
bacon
on
in
his
bed
lap, like Michael
dude's
Scott.
Michael Scott cooking bacon.
God.
Man, I wonder what the events were. I mean, I don't recall there being a whole lot of off-ice incidents this early in the year. So I think I've got you there too. And we're still, by the way, another news, the Olympic rink's still not done. That's been a big story in hockey. So you know what? Maybe the only international players this year will be the College Hockey South All-Stars. I don't know. We're not saying that's going to come true, but hey, they got to represent the U.S. somehow, right? So College Hockey South to the world. What a fun episode. What a lot of great discussion, boys. For a lighter week, we really packed it in this one. So good luck with the edit, Gavin, and good luck with your
Good luck.
listening ears. We appreciate poor Gavin. It doesn't get easier for him. But he's getting experience, and he's getting better. So that's why we love him. And we love you for sticking with us in this one. This has been another edition of College Hockey Mouth, episode 15, a sit down with Nina Molina. We'll talk to you all again soon. Have a great rest of your week.